Welcome, everyone, to What the Force, and I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Today, we're going to have a really interesting and hopefully fascinating discussion on the theory of reverse Anidala. And with me today is, I would say, perhaps one of the maybe not experts, because you kind of aimed away from that, right? But certainly like somebody who's been digging into the details, almost like a researcher of reverse Anidala on your own.
I am a reverse Anidala scholar.
Yeah, exactly. A scholar. Yes, you've devoted significant amounts of your time to the exploration of this theory. So Chelsea, welcome. And where would people know you from?
I think the only places that people would know me from are Twitter at North Gallus or Tumblr at Corsica.tumblr.com. I have my Tumblr blog and my Twitter, and that's basically where I've been speculating for the past couple of years. I'm so happy to be on.
When you posted, I think the most epic post that I've seen you do was when you took the little screenshots from, or the pictures of the one book from, was it like the Museum of Science, or it was like behind the scenes of Star Wars?
Uh-huh.
What book was that?
It was like the Museum of Natural History did an exhibit about Star Wars, about the mythology of Star Wars, and they released a book about it, like post the original trilogy timeline. So it was just about the original trilogy. Yeah.
And it was like a lot of the things that we call out about the sequel trilogy, about the prequels, like all the groundwork was there during the original trilogy.
Right. Yes, I was most excited to see because, like everything, I'm like really looking to try to see what the main story of Star Wars is, and it was really gratifying to see that there was like
redemption,
but also there was death and rebirth symbolism in the planets. Like they had a whole chapter on like there are dead hell planets, and there are like the Star Destroyers symbolize the underworld. These planets are the underworld. Bespin is the underworld because it's like heaven. What other planets in the original trilogy were? All of the desert planets in Star Wars are underworld planets. They are not living. There are no plant life. There's no plant life in
Tatooine is like a dead planet, or like a limbo, or like a nowhere.
Right. So is Jakku. That's contrasted to like living planets, like Naboo is an alive planet with plant life, and love blossoms there, and that's where life comes from. So there, it's very a stark and deliberate, I think, difference, especially because the Museum of Natural History, I think it was the Museum of Natural History, is backing me up. They said that too. They said Bespin, the cloud city, the city in the clouds, it's like heaven. And it's also like hell too, because like that's where the droids are taken apart under in the ground and tortured, and like so there's like nefarious elements like hell up there. And
well, and a lot of the lighting in the end fight when they're in the carbon freezing room is very like hell-like. There's lots of red, and like the steam escaping the carbon freezing chamber looks very hell-like, and the little imp creatures that are like helping freeze Han, and was that the book that also did the comparison and like saying foreshadowing for death and rebirth with Han?
That was from, I think they probably mentioned that in that book. Han being carbon freezed, is that what it was?
Carbon frozen? Frozen in carbonite? Frozen in carbonite.
It's easier to write sometimes.
A Han popsicle.
Han being frozen in carbonite, and also put underground in Jabba's palace specifically, because underground is also like you descend into the depths of hell. You're in the underworld. Whenever you're underground, you're going into another land. You're going into the underworld. That was a metaphorical death for Han. That was a death, and then also subsequent rebirth, which through Leia, which is also another motif, which is like the wife going down into the underworld to retrieve her dead spouse, like, yeah, there are a bunch of different myths about that, like Isis going to retrieve Osiris in the underworld, like Persephone going to the underworld with Hades and then returning to life.
Psyche going to the underworld to get the cure for what ails Eros or Cupid.
The cure for what ails him. I love it. Yes.
The cure for what ails him, because she's sent there by Venus to go and get the thing, and then comes back
to cure the wound of love she gave him with the
arrow. Yeah.
Well, she actually didn't she pour wax on him on accident and it burned him.
Yeah, and he ends up pouting at his mom's house for a while. Sorry, I love this story. Like, literally, I love this story so much. But he is a whiny bee.
He's a baby.
He's such a baby in that story. And if people haven't read Lore Olympus, the webtoon,
I've read that.
Totally should, because it covers Hades and Persephone, and there's a little like sub story about Psyche and Cupid, and yeah, it's good.
It is really good.
And yeah, anything with like mythology is my jam. So
anything specifically with like Death and the Maiden is my jam. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're doing Persephone very well. We're getting hints of vengeance goddess out of her, and it's very enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, she had layers in mythology, so that's exciting.
I mean, any kind of true goddess has the ability to destroy too. Exactly. Give life and destroy. But usually it's like retribution. Yeah, exactly. Right?
That's Ray too.
That's Ray too. So where were we?
Sorry.
No. I mean, I wanted to kind of give some context in that, like,
it's hard. There's so much stuff that you have to cover before you even start talking about it.
And like, yeah, like, okay, so reverse Anidala. And I'm not exactly sure where the name came from, but lots of people have talked about this. And specifically, Chelsea wanted to call out my good friend, Blind Man Baldwin, Matt, who I know very, very well. He's one of my good friends. Actually read every single script of the audio drama Fangirls before I did. As I was writing it, he read it and gave me feedback and was just like a champ. So thank you, Matt. And the first time I heard this theory was actually from Wayward Jedi, who has deleted his video on this since.
That's why I wanted to like put something down for it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like kind of a lot of the, where you'd go to find out about it is gone now because
I mean, if you search Tumblr with the tag, you can find like some amazing gift sets and some amazing ideas out there and some metas still, but a lot of people have abandoned Tumblr because of its crazy rules and silliness, right? So less people are having conversations out there, but like there was still some conversations happening on Reddit. Wayward Jedi again posted videos on this, but now they're gone. So having Chelsea on the show was really important to me because I really wanted to talk about this and kind of getting set up for it. So reverse as in Anidala being the ship name of Anakin and Padme.
Right.
Reverse means we're going to get the reverse of Anakin and Padme's relationship in the sequel trilogy. And it's going to make a mirror reflection of what happened and end up fixing what went wrong with their relationship in the story. But before we kind of get into that, I just want to give a little bit of a kind of warning in that this will be a highly speculative episode. Usually I kind of start with like a point about themes or genre or, and we will be getting into that. And there's tons of evidence. Like it's actually like a weird amount of evidence. No, I would say like in some ways I talk about things with less evidence. Like mines are a theme or a symbol for the underworld or for death or for the destruction of the dark side. Like who talks about stuff like that? But
I love that episode. Like it actually made me realize something.
Oh, good. We are going to be talking about this, but I want to say resurrection has yet to happen in Star Wars. So this is again
reincarnation.
Or sorry, resurrection or reincarnation.
Or
So we have yet to see a character once born in like the Eastern sacred stories, mythological sense of the word, reincarnated into a new body, their soul retained. They have been retained from one lifetime to the next. And I have talked about this in detail on comparisons of Anakin/Ben as Shiva.
Yes.
But we're going to specifically go into the evidence that exists in the movies themselves, as well as some quotes, some specific clips that Chelsea has so brilliantly gathered. So all props to her. She did so much work for this episode. So thank you.
You're welcome. I wish Blind Man Baldwin was here so that he could help me, but it's fine.
See, Matt, you should have taken me up on my offer. He's going to listen to this episode. I'm not going to tell him. We brought him up so much, and he'll be like, Marie Claire. I have offered Matt to come on the show multiple times to talk about multiple things, and he has turned me down. So we're going to talk about him behind his back.
So, Matt, you have to just deal with me doing a try on this for you. That's what we're going to do right now. Yes,
you will have to deal with it if it doesn't meet your... No, he's the sweetest man. Like
I know. He's so good.
He will be like, you guys got places I didn't even imagine. He'll say something like that, and I'll be like, oh. All right. So, where do we start, Chelsea?
I know. Where do we start? It feels hard to just say, I think that Ben Solo is a reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker, because I have, in the past couple of weeks, I've gone to certain family members and been like, let me run something past you to see if I can explain this.
You're like, have you heard the good word of reverse Anidala?
Exactly.
I mean, it seems a little crazy because we've never had reincarnation in Star Wars. We've never kind of seen this concept before. Again, it's all just one story. So, maybe this is the story that they're telling. But yeah, it's really hard to be like, look, let me just sit you down and tell you there are so many parallels. And I'm gonna call back to a few things that I've even discussed on the show. Like when Ali Nasser was on the show from Miss This, and we talked about her song she wrote specifically about Ben Solo. And she started writing the song about Ben Solo. And she's like, oh my God, it's also Anakin. It's there in like the storytelling that these people are similar. And when Reverse Anidala started to make a lot of sense to me was when I was doing my review of The Last Jedi novelization, and Jason Fry writes this dream. We get to actually see inside of Ben's head, other than just the words that Luke says on the screen of what he saw, destruction of the galaxy, and what this evil in this kid's head. And how Jason describes it is like literally Anakin Skywalker as Vader destroying the galaxy and like bending it to the Empire's will, and all of these Jedi are dying, and like how he describes it sounds like Anakin, and how he describes this person in almost burning is Anakin from the comics, especially, and how he's described in Lords of the Sith, that Anakin almost feels like he's always on fire.
Right.
So that's when it started to make sense to me as like, whoa, is that what they're telling us? So very late in the game, some people saw this even like TFA time.
Right.
So when did it start to like personally make sense to you, or when did you start to catch on to this idea?
I'm actually not sure when it was. I don't know if it was pre The Last Jedi or not, but I actually can't remember like the moment when it happened. I think it was a Wayward Jedi video maybe that allowed, but like just thinking about it more and more, the idea that those characters are one, like if you think about Anakin and Ben Solo as one continuous character,
yes,
it makes the whole story make like sense you can actually like tie a bow on it and like say, this is what the story is. Like that, the fact that Ben Solo starts out in exactly the same place where Darth Vader ended his life. Like he has complicated relationships with both, with all of the protagonists from the original trilogy, Ben Solo does. just in almost exactly the same way that Darth Vader did. Like, it's a family relationship and also like loving, but also like you're a dark person. Like, I think there's a reason why we never saw Ben Solo as a child in the movies, because he's starting out as the moment when Darth Vader died. It's like, it's almost as if Ben Solo is a alternate universe character of Darth Vader who was allowed to live and be young again. And like, what choices would Darth Vader have made had he got the chance to live and continue his story, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and very much makes sense. And you start to dig into the details. So just come with us on this journey.
I know.
And if we've piqued your interest, be like, that's weird, right? With us, right?
Right.
And then you start to dig and you're like, okay, so Leia talks about in the books specifically about her getting pregnant with Ben.
Right.
And she has a disagreement with Han about when it happened.
Really?
Yeah. She thinks
getting pregnant. Oh, that's
getting
right.
pregnant
That's right.
with Ben. And Han is very sure it happened on Endor. The night that Vader died.
Oh, yes, exactly. Like, what? So the possibility is put forth that Ben Solo is literally conceived
on Endor,
on the moon that Darth Vader was immolated on, like
Burns
right afterwards.
Even.
Right. Burns like a fiery phoenix rising from the ashes. Something may be going on there. There's also Ben Solo or Han Solo looking into young Ben Solo's eyes and seeing, what is the quote? I think I have the quote.
Ageless eyes or ancient eyes.
Han had no idea how a 2-year-old could have such ancient eyes. It was as if Ben had been waiting around for a millennium to show up at just this moment in history. Han shook his head, smiling. He was thinking about fates and destinies. He was starting to sound like Luke. It's like,
that little starfighter.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Right.
There's more. There's more.
More.
He has been influenced, according to Leia, since he was a small boy by something dark and sinister.
Mm-hmm. You start to wonder why the same thing did not happen to Luke or Leia. Like, a little bit.
Well, I mean, like, the Emperor didn't know that they existed. So if it is like the Emperor influencing or Snoke, right? Who Leia's like, it was Snoke. But what if?
but it's also like, why should this young boy have this dark like pall over him that his mom and his uncle never had? It's like why does he have this like obligation almost? Why does he have this? It's almost like he has to deal with it. And it's like, why does he have to deal with that particular legacy?
Yeah.
It almost doesn't make sense otherwise. It's like, what? I mean, it could just be an artistic decision that they're making, but it's also like, why?
Yeah.
Why is he so similar to him?
Every story I actually ask, like, so with Star Wars, very much, especially, with a Disney reboot and the choice to tie everything together and have it be one story. That's what Kathleen Kennedy always said when she took this on. She said, Star Wars is one story.
Right.
And specifically, people like Leland Shee, Matt Martin, Pablo Hidalgo, the rest of the story group combined, because there's way more of them than that. Those are just the public facing figures. Their job is to not only make sure that it all makes sense, that it's all tied together, that, nothing overlaps each other too much, because sometimes that happens by accident, but also to lay groundwork for future storytelling and to lay Easter eggs in there. That's literally part of their job. They will call up an author. I've literally heard this from the mouths of authors saying, I was asked to put this in.
I believe it. Yeah. To make things make sense, you have to have like I don't know how many people, probably like tinfoil hat. How many people know about the conspiracy of reverse Anidala? I can imagine that if that was the case, they would have to build it up. It's almost interesting. It's interesting because this has much more build up than like Leia being Luke's sister ever seemed to have in the original trilogy.
Well, I mean, that was like a choice at the end to make things make sense. Right? So in some ways, like an iterative choice,
right?
Creative choice at the end. Whereas like it's almost weird how many dropped puzzle pieces there are.
Right. Oh, like in what way?
Oh, well, like the fact that Ben Solo's costumes mirror Anakin's life in reverse.
Really? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he's in his full Vader gear. So again, reverse Anidala. In TFA, he's in his full Vader wannabe looking outfit. He's got the helmet, he's got his like mini cape, he's got his like boots, etc. All of it. In The Last Jedi, he's literally wearing the same boots as Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith, but dyed black.
It's like, He's almost like goth Anakin, like Anakin if he had been born goth or something. Like he has the looks.
Anakin through a depressed mirror.
Right. Yeah, it's like Anakin, but he's Anakin, but he's also Vader at the same time. Like that shadow, that dark father, that like
scar over the same eye, different location. It's like
different location.
You know, hair the same length as Revenge of the Sith.
He has the same cape as Darth Vader. I realize it's like the same cut, so it actually has the same silhouette if he's walking towards you as Darth Vader's cape silhouette.
Which means we might get a more Vader-ish look when he's potentially wearing the helmet in 9.
Right, yeah.
If he wears that helmet. I still have my doubts.
I think that he will. I know everyone briefly. Is. I think that mostly it will be him. And then if it's a trick, it's like a trick for one scene. I actually think that that's going to be
like a decoy maneuver, like his old grandma used to do.
I don't know. I just think about there was like a leaked poster or something that had him in the mask on the cover, and I'm like, would they have like a mostly decoy?
Fair. No, I think he will be in it, but I think that like Queen Amidala, like they might use it as a decoy.
Yes, exactly. But I think it'll be mostly him. There was that. Did you see that editor who told the story about during filming about she was working on set for JJ on The Rise of Skywalker. Sorry, I don't know how you feel about spoiler or leaks. This is not a big thing, but
sure. We're in speculation land.
This is just about the helmet thing. She told this really funny story about how she was editing the takes on set because they didn't have time to have like months afterward to do it, so she had to do it every day. And her assistant was like laughing in front of her, like, "Oh my gosh, look behind you!" And she like turns behind her, and she's like, Adam Driver was sitting right behind her she said, in full cape and mask. Kylo Ren was behind me, and like just kind of hovering over me, like, "Can I watch?"
That's awesome.
And apparently he watched her edit, and then whenever he was on screen, he would cover his eyes because he's like, "I don't want to see that."
So, yeah, no, he doesn't like to watch himself.
So that she described him in full cape and mask. I'm like, well, he at least wears it a little bit.
Yeah, no, fair.
So I'm sorry, that's a little bit of spoilers.
No, I mean, I mean, people assume, right? And he was on the Celebration poster, like theoretically, if that's him, like the broken, craft glued back together mask.
Yes.
Was on there.
I definitely will be like watching, like, are you really my boy? Do I see your physique under there?
Well, like they did little tricks for us to actually see the difference in The Last Jedi when it wasn't really Luke there, right? There was hints.
Oh, that's right.
Right? So we might get some sort of hint as we watch, and then like everybody will get super excited who's like paying attention to that sort of stuff. So we've talked about Kylo's. He's a lot like his grandfather.
Yeah, everybody already knows this. They're hiding it in plain sight.
Yeah, heir apparent to Darth Vader. Literally, heir apparent to Darth Vader. You actually are him. Maybe.
Yeah, in his first scenes in both the movies, he goes to his mentor. His mentor literally talks to him about Darth Vader. Someone mentioned, like, I was wondering why in the conversations between Luke and Rey, they randomly had Luke say the word Darth Sidious. It seemed kind of like incongruous almost that he would say that out loud. actually felt that way the first time I saw the movie, but like it makes sense if he's like foreshadowing that will be important in the third movie. Like you need to be reminded of this character.
And they tie back to the prequels a couple of times, like maybe Leader Snoke should consider a clone army, you know, like, and that was talking about Darth Sidious is a direct tie to, you know, the prequels to remind us that that time was important.
Right. But it's also because we know that Palpatine is coming back, Sidious.
They laid the groundwork. Yeah.
So the fact that they are still mentioning Darth Vader so much, why is like, and it's not even like once or twice, it's in the conversation between Luke and Rey, they mention Darth Vader in the conversation. Like, and I understand that he was still
too much
important.
Vader in him.
There's too much Vader in him.
That was Leia.
Right.
No, Han.
That
it was Han and Leia's conversation. There's too much Vader in him. That's why I wanted him to train with Luke.
And like with Snoke, a new Vader. But you're just a child in a mask because he is past Vader. He was already.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's not actually Darth Vader anymore. He's what Darth Vader might have been. So like, but there's also that tension. Sorry, this is all theoretical. Like it could not be.
It's fine. Yeah. no. This is we gave the warning. It's okay, Chelsea. You know, what Snoke is saying or what is happening is actually, you know, people are catching in that he is too much like Vader. He's too much like Anakin. He's like Anakin reborn even.
Right. Exactly. So that could possibly be a reason why they are seeding the idea of Darth Vader to maybe an audience of 10-year-olds who've never really seen, they could possibly have only seen these movies. They don't know about that.
Or they probably know who Vader is because from a cultural perspective,
for sure,
everywhere, right? Vader is literally everywhere. He's one of the most popular Halloween characters still to this day, right?
For sure, to make the movies like stand alone. They couldn't just have like a reference to Darth Vader it in the third one. In The Rise of Skywalker, they suddenly start talking about, oh, you're the reincarnation of Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. They're like, who? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, they have to lay the groundwork for this. So why that's important to talk about him as a kid and, you know, being tormented as a kid or having, I've always said, it feels like he's having Anakin's dreams his whole life.
Right.
Like what would it be like if you were reincarnated and you had some glimpse of, you know, the soul that you were previously in your past life?
Right.
What would that look like?
Like the karma that you had in your last life following you in this next one.
You would be tormented. Like you would have to have some sort of pain or anguish that you would have to go through to understand the mistakes of your past. So that from a samsara perspective, you didn't make them or you corrected them in this life.
Exactly. And it makes me feel a little bit better about Ben Solo, honestly, because like if you look at his story, it's like, what? He didn't do any, like, I mean, he did do stuff wrong, but like, why is he having such a rough time? Like, but if this is
why is he such a sad boy?
Why the sad boy? Why so sad? Like, yes, exactly.
So that's Ben, right? Our Anakin Ben, you know, potential. So who's Padme in all this?
Padme would be Rey. I mean,
right. I mean, obviously, right?
Obviously.
So what's the evidence that, you know, maybe Rey is a reincarnated version of Padme? And again, I have gone into this in the episode with Susan all about how in the sacred stories of Shiva's wife literally experienced an experience that was a lot like Padme and then was reincarnated into a goddess from nowhere.
Yeah, Parvati.
So we've already kind of broached the topic from a mythological and religious sacred story perspective, but what's the other evidence out there?
So specifically for Rey, there is, I feel like there's less evidence than for Ben and Anakin, but there is still a lot of it. Mm-hmm. It's like been seeded. There's stuff there. Simply the conversation that she has with Ben, that's almost reversal of the Anakin and Padme last conversation in Revenge of the Sith.
Are you talking about the proposal scene?
I'm talking about, yes, the part where Ben Solo proposes marriage to Rey.
I mean, ruling the galaxy together. That can happen.
Oh, is that what he was saying?
I
just kidding.
You know,
this is a separate theory altogether.
I mean, it was kind of proposal of marriage, but if you've listened to some of the other podcasts, I think they're already at least spiritually married. Death of the Maiden Wise.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's been a lot.
They already hand fasted over a fire, basically.
He already did a Hades and Persephone illusion that was like literally their marriage, where he like takes her from the forest to the dead kingdom.
And like, carries her away on his sky chariot with 4 horses.
Yeah, they've already gotten married a couple of times if you're looking for like metaphorical marriage. So it's like,
but he still felt the need to rule the galaxy with her. That was nice. That was a nice consideration. Let's just say that out loud. He proposes to her. He's like, let the past die. Screw the Jedi and the Sith.
But then they start
be with me, hand out.
Yes. And then they start doing actual dialogue that is exactly like the Revenge of the Sith dialogue. You're breaking my heart. Don't go this way. That Padme says to Anakin.
You're still holding on. And he clenches his fist like Anakin does.
Yes.
Wow, that's so weird. Why?
I wonder why.
Why would Star Wars rhyme like that so much?
Well, there's also like her outfit. Her outfits are the same. Have you looked at the way her outfit looks?
Yes, I have. Yes.
This is like the most tinfoil hat part of this, but I'm like,
no, tinfoil tiaras. We are
tinfoil tiara.
At least queens.
Tinfoil empress crown.
Exactly.
I feel sometimes when I think about this, I feel like that one gif of the guy going, "Look at the wall, like look at all this evidence."
I mean, sometimes Star Wars makes you crazy. We were just talking about how the Mortis arc made me crazy for a little while. So it's okay. It's okay. But Star Wars, it rhymes. It literally purposefully rhymes. So they do these things on purpose to make it feel interconnected in one story for a reason. I have speculation on why they do it, but it is purposeful. So don't feel bad by being like, this rhymes. Look at these things that are exactly the same. But the scene, it's almost like the scene in Revenge of the Sith needed to happen, but in reverse. But when Padme lives. And the difference between Padme and Rey, and we're going into complete speculation land, so we're going to go off the deep end with the tinfoil hat, is that Padme died. She did not have Force abilities. Rey was reborn as a nexus, as a chosen one, as an instrument of the Force. Or at least Padme wasn't aware of her Force importance. Whereas Rey always had that, like, splinter of knowledge that there was something about her that wasn't quite right.
Right.
She was a goddess awakened when she was born.
Yes.
So that's the difference. And so faced with the disappointing your forever husband, she didn't die this time. She escaped and kicked his ass by accident.
But what's really interesting is when I watched The Force Awakens in theaters, before I even thought about this theory, I watched that so many times in theaters. I went back because there was something so fascinating about that sword fight at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And like
that they kind of both owned the sword, the Skywalker saber.
That also, but it felt like, to me, it felt so gratifying because it felt like, and I couldn't put my finger on why it felt this way, but it felt like as if Padme had fought Anakin.
Yeah.
I felt like I was getting, because I had known about that thing in the art book where I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but they said we wanted to make Padme fierce like a lioness because she was going after the bull. She was going to try to fight Anakin.
Yeah, because she was in love with the monster.
Because she was in love with the monster. We wanted to make her
like a lioness.
Courageous and strong. And then they drew that artwork of her like holding a knife as if she was going to fight him, and I had seen that several years ago, and then I watched The Force Awakens and I was like, it's almost like, and I don't know why I'm thinking this, but it's almost like Padme fighting him and like throwing him down, like, and I felt like it was so satisfying to me in some way, like I couldn't understand it. But then when I learned about this theory, I was like, oh my gosh, what if that was actually like purposeful? They were trying to mend that wound in the Skywalker story.
It's like, what is the one thing that you want to do to the soul that killed you is probably kick his ass right off the bat. Lovingly kick his ass, mark him as your own.
Yeah, what's interesting in all of the Rey and Ben interactions this whole time has been like it asks the question, is this going to be like Anakin and Padme? And every time it eventually says that was the tension, but no, it's actually not going to be like that. It's when he's interrogating her, you're like, oh, is something really bad going to happen? But no, she has the same powers as him. She meets him equally and is able to throw him down in the forest fight. Oh, is she going to be hurt and killed like Padme? Is she going to die? No. That was the tension, but that's not what's going to happen. It's like
he's going to be taught a lesson.
Yeah.
And question himself.
Exactly.
In the fight with the throne room, what's really fascinating is when they are together and in some way harmonious, the Force sings with them. Right. And like in the hand touch scene, we get the underlay of Across the Stars.
Right.
As they're about to touch and as they touch, they get the Across the Stars underlay, and the Force theme, of course, swells.
There's also musically speaking, there's also that tie with Across the Stars.
Both of their themes.
Recently.
I just learned this. I literally freaked out.
I was so happy to hear you learn that in real time.
Like everyone is like, oh my God, Marie Claire, you freaked out. And I'm like, I literally didn't know this. That their themes are made up, are stem from Across the Stars.
Right.
And again, listen to our Kylo theme episode if you want to hear more about that, and literally me like almost crying, discovering and like realizing. And I know that other people have pointed this out and all of that stuff, but I mean, I think that's one of the wonderful things about Star Wars is that you're like digging a hole and you're like, oh my God, there's more stuff over here.
So there's more like that musically with Ben, actually, that ties him to Anakin in the part where he's the torn apart part where he's confronting Han and about to kill him. The music references Anakin's theme.
Oh.
And Across the Stars. I think, was there something else? But it references like the tense, sad part of Across the Stars, and it also references like really deliberately and obviously Child Anakin's theme. I don't know if I'll give you a link to where they talk about that in this certain podcast. But so it's like, why? It makes me wonder like what his theme song is going to be like. If this theory is true, what would I kind of wish I could talk to Christy about
what would a
this,
redeemed Ben Solo's theme be like?
If he was a reincarnation, like would it?
Oh,
like I know that it's going to be beautiful, but would it reference the Child Anakin theme, which is very, very beautiful, and it's already been referenced in Torn Apart.
Interesting. You know what? I'll ask her. We're going to record soon.
That's why I've been speculating about Across the Stars, because I'm like, well, so just generally you would hope for like a new love song for Anakin, or for Rey and Ben. You would hope for like a beautiful new one. But like in the case that this tinfoil tiara theory is true, would that change the speculation about the music?
What the Reylo theme song would be?
Like, I know they're already like a reversal of it and they've referenced it a little bit, but like, does it change would they do a version of Across the Stars?
Would it be maybe a new arrangement that would end less, like would have more of a major swell to it?
Right. That's the only reason why I've been so big on I think Across the Stars might appear again, because I mean, a lot of my speculation is based on this theory. So I'm like, well, maybe. I mean, maybe so. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what he would musically do, though. I think she might have a better idea, though.
Yeah, Christy didn't think that they would go with Across the Stars for their love theme.
Right. But like
but I can totally see her points in that.
Right.
Across the Stars, but a different arrangement.
Right.
Because it is sad.
Actually very sad. It's a very sad, tragic song.
Yeah, like a less tragic arrangement, or an arrangement that twists it and changes it to be
Oh,
glowing.
I think he might, even if he did a new one, I think it would probably reference Across the Stars in some way.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, their theme song, their theme motifs already, reference it. So just to tie it back,
true.
So like this theory could be either literally true or metaphorically true.
Frank Lehman promised me that if they get a new theme, he will totally name it the Raylo Love theme. So I've got that in a tweet writing.
Oh, what a good guy.
And then when like the New Yorker magazine references his episode 9 musical analysis, they will use the term Raylo Love theme.
John Williams in the soundtrack will just call it Raylo Love theme.
Maybe.
Just kidding. Raylo is more powerful than all of us.
I mean, he might call it The Prince and the Scavenger, and then we'd all die.
Oh no! Oh, my heart just like got stabbed a little bit. Oh my goodness!
Right? I mean,
why you hurt me? Why you hurt me so good, Marie Claire?
It's because I love you. And I love this idea. But okay, so let's talk about scars for a moment, because the movie
has
specifically make them have the same scars as Anakin and Padme.
And like in the new trilogy, it's like very specifically like this is about them. She gave his scar to him. Her scar is like outstretched hands.
Yeah, and the scar itself is during a fight, just like Padme got her scar during a fight with, Anakin and Padme fighting in the arena. That's when she got her scar. And the two scars themselves feel very Force significant.
Really? Yeah.
Right? Like something is going on beyond the norm. And we have had some weird stuff start to happen in Star Wars. And to say, oh, we've had some weird stuff start to happen in Star Wars is kind of weird to say. Like, yeah, Star Wars has always kind of been fake and in space and weird. But like, we've had some concepts introduced since Clone Wars and since like sort of, I would say, the golden age of George Lucas storytelling with the Mortis arc, with the interesting things that have happened in Rebels. Did you want to talk about A World Between Worlds?
Yes. So I watched that because of the possible Anakin, Padme, Rey, Kylo tie-in. What does Ezra hear when he is walking in the World Between Worlds for the first time?
So this place is a place that Ezra goes to multiple times during the course of Rebels. Ezra being a Force user, he is meditating and he tries to connect with the Force, and he ends up kind of meeting Yoda there a couple of times, and at least that's what it looks like to him. And if you look for clips about Dave Filoni talking about the World Between Worlds, he will give you the most supreme non-answers of anyone giving you answers. And so I refuse to speculate because I know Dave Filoni is listening to this episode.
Oh no.
No, he's not. But
okay, good.
But I know, I refuse to speculate about the fact that, what is the World Between Worlds? Because, is it in your mind? Is it not? He's literally used those words.
That's
like
a whole episode.
What is it? But it is important. It is this concept that things, I think he most recently talked about how it was very much like Narnia, and like when you went into the closet, it was a wood between worlds or something like that. Like that was where he originally came up with the idea, and it was, very much inspired by Anne, his wife, who is a very well-read woman, and we love her because she gives him lots of beautiful ideas, including Lord of the Rings ideas, which now is inspiring Ahsoka and all sorts of stuff. So Ezra goes to this place, and instead of kind of meditating and experiencing this plane or this existence, he actually goes through this portal into this location, which is really cool. And
it's a place that like ties together time and space almost.
Yes, because we have an experience of Ahsoka being pulled from one time into another.
Right.
And it's beautiful. Like, it's these stars and these almost like roads and gateways and all of these things. Just go check it out. If you haven't seen these episodes, just go and watch these ones.
And what is he hearing when he goes there?
In the background, you hear these like full-on voice clips from the movies and from different experiences. And do you want to let me go find it.
Yeah,
and then
he
we can
hears
read
like
back
he
and
hears like
forth.
really classic Star Wars quotes. Like I can't really remember the rest of them because I only care about. Just kidding. I only have these written down right here, but he hears like, "You're help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." So you get the feeling, oh, he's hearing things from all sorts of different places and times. Like, and then he hears this in this specific order. These specific voice
I'll be
clips.
Rey and Anakin,
Okay.
and you be Kylo. Can you do Kylo well? Or do you want to be Rey?
No, it's fine. Show me. Is that bad? Show me.
That was really good. That was good. I mean, you're a woman, so how Adam Driver
I can't
can
do
you do?
Adam Driver face. I'm not equipped.
It's all good. You do your best, right? And I'm gonna try British. Okay.
Okay.
We'll see each other again.
It says show me, and then Ray says
We'll see each other again. We'll see each other again.
And then he says, grandfather. And
I
then
believe
she says,
that.
and then he says, and I will finish.
And then it lose you, Padme.
And then it cuts to Anakin saying, I won't lose you, Padme. And then Kylo Ren finishes.
Very dramatically says, what you started.
So it's a lot of eyeball emojis directed at
like the Rebels crew. What were you doing? No, that was all put in the sound design. People who were the voice actors, the writers, all of that. It was probably Dave Filoni going to the trust tree of the sound designers, which was probably Matt Wood, and said, Matt Wood, I need you to put these lines specifically in the episode.
Right. It's like you have to do this deliberately. Or I mean, like, it could be just like teasing or something, but I don't think that they care that much about teasing that kind of thing. But they
show
do
me,
care about.
We'll see each other again, grandfather. I believe that. So maybe it's like, show me, grandfather. We'll see each other again. I believe that. I will finish what you started. I won't lose you, Padme. So
right. This also ties into the Darth Vader comics.
Very much so, especially the Charles Soule run, Vader 2017. He builds his whole temple just to get Padme back and ends up, he uses the word kill the past. He says. So what he does is he actually enters something like the world between worlds. Kind of, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. It was his own version of it, right? And I think that we've established that the world between worlds probably looks different between people because like Yoda himself, when he's with Ezra there, laughs a little bit about what Ezra says it looks like.
Did you ever see the thread that I did on the Vader comics, or it was like really long? So
yes.
Oh, you did. Okay, so what was really interesting is it so reiterated that he is on a hero's journey. He builds the castle, and he actually builds a series of castles that represent, like, in my opinion, it's not like confirmed, but it seems pretty obvious that they represent the different Star Wars movies.
Oh, interesting. And it was the 9th configuration that lasted.
So I'll link you to what I was. So the castles actually look exactly like things from the number movie that they are from. They start with the 5th movie, the 5th castle.
Yeah, which looks like
we don't see it. It's destroyed before we see it, but they talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
We see the 6th castle looks exactly like Palpatine's throne, and it is destroyed. It is destroyed by lightning.
Oh.
The 7th castle looks exactly like Maz Kanata's castle.
Interesting.
From The Force Awakens, and it is destroyed, but like Starkiller Base, kind of. This is just speculation. The 8th castle that Vader builds to try to reunite with Padme, as if he is trying and searching for her, but cannot get to her. That represents the movie Star Wars, The Last Jedi. So like the 8th castle is The Last Jedi, and it looks exactly like Snoke's throne.
Oh.
And it is destroyed like the Holdo maneuver.
Oh, interesting.
So there are really, really strong, I think, visual references to those castles being references to the Star Wars movies.
I'm going to have to reread the comic because I don't remember reading that specifically, but that's awesome.
It's Tinfoil Tiara level, definitely, but I think it's really strong.
That's cool. But then the ninth configuration works.
The ninth configuration, and also the comments that they make on every castle are very much as if they are talking about the Star Wars movies in a metatextual way. They say like, gosh, I need to like bring up my thread about it. Just talking about the Vader comics and its relation to the reincarnation theory could be like a whole hour, I feel like.
Well, I mean, he's literally trying to bring his wife back.
There's a lot of parallels between Kylo Ren and Darth Vader in this comic, specifically like the Inquisitorius are exactly like the Knights of Ren.
Yeah, they wear very similar outfits to the Knights of Ren.
They're fallen Padawans. They do the exact same job. Oh, also, Kylo Ren does the exact same job and has the exact same position in the new First Order that Vader did in the Empire. He's not quite in power, and all he does is hunt down Jedi. Like
Jedi Hunter, which was his original concept name when they were doing the concept art, tying directly back to those. But in the Vader comic, Vader specifically says words that Ben has said. Kylo Ren has said.
Okay, right. So who is the Sith in the Darth Vader comic? I can't remember his name. The
Moomin?
Moomin, yeah.
Yeah.
Moomin. See, I think of Moomin like the cute Moomin Valley. Moomin.
It's like Moomin.
We'll say Moomin.
Moomin. I think Charles Soule called him Moomin.
So he says, he's describing building the castles, and he says, my fortress will tune the energies of the locust. It is your first step toward using the power of the dark side to pierce the veil of time between life and death. You will see her again. Like so the entire point of building these weird castles, and it's on Mustafar, is to try to get Vader to have access to Padme again. Mm-hmm. So they build these castles. They build the first one, the sixth. So they build the fifth one. The fifth one explodes. Moomin says, too many focusing spires. I think they split the castle's energy into mind splinters, impossible to control. So like he's discussing, so if you're taking it like this is Empire Strikes Back, you're like, why did he mention, mind splinter, splinter of the mind's eye? That's a novel that takes place between 4 and 5, or it used to. So it's like that could possibly be a reference to that. When they are building the sixth one that looks exactly like Palpatine's throne and it is destroyed by purple force lightning. The sixth design, that will be the one. I will have a new set of plans ready very shortly, Lord Vader. 6 times the charm, as they say. Like, so it's like that was the movie that people thought was the end of Star Wars for how many years. So like they were like, that must be the one, but it's destroyed. That's not
the end.
So the end of Return of the Jedi did not reunite Vader with Padme.
Interesting.
Can I send you a link to this so you can follow along? And I don't know how to do that though.
Oh, there's like a chat. I will chat at you.
Is there? Oh, okay. So I don't know how to. Oh, chat. Okay. So here's the
Perfect.
So scroll down a little bit, and then you can see these castles because it's. I feel like once you see it, you're like, oh, that's a little blunt.
Yeah,
that
totally looks like Palpatine's chair.
And I compare them later, like, and then the 7th castle, which if we are assuming this is representing the Star Wars movies, I have confidence that the 7th design will achieve everything you desire in a Star Wars movie, Lord Vader. Like,
hello, J.J. Abrams.
Basically the hype around the Force Awakens, and it is destroyed, like, so, and then 8.
Like Starkiller Base, everything, or Starkiller Base destroyed the Hosnian system, right?
Right. And then they build the 8th castle. The 8th castle, The Last Jedi, looking exactly like Snoke's throne. 8th, mark my words, but it's still destroyed. And then finally, and then I did a screen comparison.
Yeah, of the Holdo maneuver. That's amazing.
Well, like
it even kind of looks like.
Yeah, it looks like
Snoke's throne, but also kind of like the ship itself, like a little bit.
Oh yeah, like look down on the next post. I compare them to actual like things that I think that they might be representing. So I think it's a little like blatant a little bit. And then so they build the 9th castle, and you're like, so and now I'm thinking, so all of those other places, the castles that they built, they seem to represent actual physical locations in the movie. And I'm like, so maybe they're actually going to go to Mustafar and go to Vader's castle, because if that is the 9th castle, then
it's actually there. Yeah.
And maybe that is where he will reunite with Padme, because
you might have lost faith in the filmmakers.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But this is something special.
This
there
is
will be no 10th.
There will be no 10th.
Anakin will be reunited with Padme.
And then they go on to describe the ninth castle, like little minions, like stormtroopers around it are like, it just feels right. This was its death. The little stormtroopers are like, it's almost beautiful, isn't it? Here we go again. This is a stormtrooper like, I don't want to see this Star Wars movie. They've failed me so many times. But then like another stormtrooper is like, no, it's different. Doesn't it seem different to you? There will be no 10. This is the end. So like I think that there's a meta thing going on with this comic. I don't know how plausible you find it, but
I completely find it plausible after reading Legends of Luke Skywalker and dying. So everything is plausible, and thus the tinfoil tiara exists just for our consumption and use. To don our tinfoil tiaras to experience this beautiful, beautiful analysis, Chelsea.
Momin warns him. He's like, I think that this isn't the right time to do this. Like, literally, it's not the 9th movie yet. He was trying to do this, like, post Revenge of the Sith, before A New Hope. That's not the right time.
And he like, says, when he goes in and he actually sees Padme, she's like a shell, right? She's not actually herself.
And what's interesting is they go through it, and he looks through his whole hero's journey he has taken up to that point.
Yeah.
He looks at like leaving his mother. It's like the whole retreading of his story, and it's very Joseph Campbell. Like he does the hero's journey steps almost. He confronts the Jedi, and also he confronts his fathers, and then he tries to meet with the goddess in the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to do that at the wrong place, that he's been warned that it's the wrong place to do it. And he finds Padme. Oh, and also he quotes Kylo Ren here. This is where he said,
and he says, let the past die, kill it if you have to, when he's killing all the Jedi. Yeah.
And so like that's the point where they decide to pepper in a little Kylo Ren reference.
Yeah, just like little Kylo Ren. Just
what does this have to do with Kylo Ren?
Yeah.
And then he meets with Padme. He says, I'm here, I can save you, I can save us both, but it's not the right time.
Yeah.
And also he is saying, I will save you, which is still not the right answer, because the answer is the goddess is as powerful as the hero, and they will save only together will they have ultimate power. Only with her help.
Yeah.
Only with her love. Only with his finding actual true love with her, like compassionate, selfless love, will he be able.
I loved that she said, are you an angel? They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. And that very much references the idea of like what Western religious stories, like what do you become when you die?
Right.
Are you an angel yet, Anakin? Are you dead?
Throughout this entire comic, the major theme is he is already dead.
Yes. Anakin Skywalker is dead, she ends up saying.
Yes. And I was actually scared to read the Vader comics, because I didn't think that they would be doing that motif of like he's actually dead, because it's very important for this theory that he.
Well, let's talk about the Joseph Campbell connection, because we kind of skipped over.
Oh, I know. Kind of and it's so important.
Give the theory some time to breathe and kind of talk about some of the weird. These are some weird coinkydinks that are happening in this whole one story. Okay, so Joseph Campbell, as you know, who was heavily, heavily influential on George Lucas as he was writing his saga. He wrote about, the hero with 1,000 faces, and it all ties back into a theory called the hero's journey, which, if you look at it, kind of falls. Most stories follow these, stories from humanity follow this path, in storytelling.
Joseph Campbell, I feel I've been reading and like listening to and watching lectures by him for the past like 2 months, and I'm like, I feel like I know him or something. Like
I'm trying to read goddesses, but it was like he stopped caring
Really?
about writing at that point. So
Oh
it's a little like, here's this side tangent, and I'm like, my brain doesn't work with side tangents. Where are you going?
Oh no, that's just him. That's him the whole time. Did you think Hero with a Thousand Faces is a little easier to parse? Or
Well, I just think like he was near the end of his life, so it was like a lot of like side notes, and they just kind of
like,
threw it together into a book.
Joseph Campbell, he had his main thesis was he had the idea of the monomyth, the central story that most mythologies had in it, that what it was used for was to initiate young people into adulthood. In most societies, they have a story that helps them do that. So the story is very simply in Campbell terms. There's you can make it very much more complicated with like more steps, but the hero starts in the living world, the normal world. He decides to leave his tribe. He decides to leave.
There's a call to adventure, and he decides to journey or go or experience.
And several things can happen to him, but with this particular story, he goes down he descends into a different world, an underworld. Sometimes he dies metaphorically or dies
literally
in a mythological kind of way.
Yes.
And then he finds something in the underworld and is resurrected.
Yes. And comes back. And then the completion of the full hero's journey, which can either happen metaphorically or through some sort of spiritual death or some sort of trial, ends up ending in a journey home almost. Back to the beginning of the story.
He comes back with something that he could only have found in the underworld.
Yes.
He comes back with something that will enrich the world that he left, something that will bless them, bless his tribe, bless the world they came from. It's like this idea that you can only really find true inspiration by going outside of what you normally do. It's a metaphor that works in many different ways. It can be like literal, it can be, but it's sorry.
No, you're doing great.
Okay, good.
No, you're doing awesome. You're doing much better than me in this moment explaining the hero's journey, which, again, like if you've listened to the heroine's journey episode, like they are very similar. The heroine's journey just has a little bit more of a female focus, but both of these storytelling, I would say, templates are important to understanding Star Wars. And the key, okay, so putting down Campbell for a moment.
Can we?
I mean, no. Okay, putting him off to the side to watch us as we don our tinfoil tiaras.
Okay.
What has happened? Anakin was born as some sort of chosen one in the Force. Something is wrong with the galaxy. It is sick. We know this from all over the place in canon. The galaxy, the Force, there's something wrong. And thus, Anakin is born as some sort of nexus in the Force. Anakin experiences his journey, which is a tragic one, and he ends up dying metaphorically and becoming Vader.
Right.
He is, from the time of Revenge of the Sith, sealed into the armor, undead, undead. He is literally in hell. We see that in multiple locations. The Vader comic, Lords of the Sith, anywhere he has some sort of internal monologue about how terrible his life is and how much pain and terribleness he's experiencing. Being a dark side user is not to be envied.
Right. Yeah, it sounds not very fun.
And in the end of his underworld experience, his son, the leftovers, I guess, the thing that remained from his wife and his union, the part where he actually was, whole and complete and all of those things. Sorry, I called Luke leftovers.
I don't know why that was so funny, but it was like, yeah, leftovers.
Leftover Luke. I mean, he kind of got abandoned. I mean, he's kind
of like a what is the word for it? He's like a stand-in for Padme.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah, a very, very much a stand-in for Padme, and in some ways, so is R2-D2.
Really?
R2-D2 is totally Padme, and C-3PO is totally Anakin in the saga.
What?
Yeah, you got to listen to my droid episodes.
Are you blowing my mind right now?
Go listen to my droid episodes.
Is it because C-3PO becomes a god or something?
I mean, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, but no, C-3PO
No, no, no.
goes through experiences that are very similar to Anakin's, and in some ways, he is an avatar of Anakin in the saga.
Avatar. Interesting.
And,
yeah, I'll go listen to that one. I haven't heard that one yet.
R2-D2 is the companion of Anakin, and then he watches over Anakin and Padme's children.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah, they're like the surrogate parents in the saga. It's kind of cute. And then when episode 7 comes out, C-3PO has a red arm for some reason, like he's been reborn with like a new fleshy appendage.
Which arm is it?
I gotta look that up.
Because like they're very specific arm severings.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about that.
Red arm. Let's go look at you. It's his left arm. At least that's my crackpot tiara theory about C-3PO and R2-D2, that they are surrogates for the Skywalker parents in the saga.
It is very interesting that his arm is red, for sure.
Yeah, for some reason.
I need to listen to that. I must consume all tinfoil
tiara theories.
Yes.
Vader dies, and by Vader being redeemed, let's just imagine there's some sort of weird conversation in the Force. It's like, good job, Vader. You killed Palpatine. But it's not quite done yet.
People have always been like, Darth Vader was redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi. And it's like, and I'm like thinking about Joseph Campbell. I'm like, but that never happens in myth. Like you never just die like that. That's like a new like pop culture thing that stemmed from Darth Vader not dying like that. Like that's not really a thing that happens mythologically.
No, it doesn't. And also from a trials perspective, he is literally only 2/3 of the way through his suffering that he needs to go through to truly have a redeemed soul and to be with his partner. And he needs to go back the journey. And part of that whole story from a partnership story perspective, when he's finding, his true partner, etc., what will end up happening is that over the course of the last third of the story, they slowly become inseparable.
Yeah.
Like no matter what. And storytelling sometimes ends up happening where like they're literally like told to like kill each other and they won't.
Yes. Right.
And you see a lot of these in Asian dramas. So I'm just going to say like the storytelling happens all over the place internationally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's not as seen in Western.
And so it feels very weird to like be like, hey, this is the story. And yeah, a lot of the time there's a resurrection or some sort of reincarnation story that ends up happening. Like,
we're actually kind of used to it because so many movies use the hero's journey, and there's that metaphorical death and rebirth that happens like at a very certain point in every single movie. Like the person is mortally wounded, but they like pull through it. They pull through, yeah.
Because they're determined, or they're pure of soul, or they've experienced some sort of second chance.
So we see it, but we've never seen a hero's journey stretched out. So this is a hero's journey that's stretched out over 9 different movies and
40 years.
40 years. And so like the Revenge of the Sith is when he descends into the underworld.
Yes.
And Return of the Jedi is when he's not quite back yet. Ben is still in the underworld as well.
Interesting.
Like hear me out. Ben has never been on a living planet except for Takodana, but he was dressed like death incarnate when he was there. So
like literally in his own suit.
He was he was trapped in like the Vader suit while he was there. So he was still dead.
We see him in the forest on in The Rise of Skywalker.
But it's like a forest on fire, like a hell land. So you got to keep thinking about like we've actually never like we see that tantalizing glimpse of him in the desert, which is also a dead land. So I'm like, if I saw a glimpse of him in one of the trailers on a living world, I'd be like, I know exactly that I was right, because like they are so careful with the settings in this story. It's like, this is a living planet and you are alive because you're on it. Like, so
by Rey leaving Jakku, she is leaving the underworld.
Exact. Rey is born as a slave on a planet that's dead. It's literally a graveyard. This is the underworld. So she, like Padme, starts out wearing the same outfit that Padme died in.
Yep.
And she also starts out her story in an underworld that's literally a graveyard of the Empire. And if you think about like Greek tragedy and how characters who may be reincarnated, they might have karmic debt, you get the feeling like maybe she is in some kind of
purgatory
because it's not only Anakin's mistakes that led to the rise of the Empire. It was also it's not like I would never blame a 14-year-old girl for this, but like since it is a Greek tragedy, they had these implications that you are responsible whether you meant to do it or not. Like,
yes,
she was the one that gave Palpatine power to begin with. So, and it was also like her impatience that did that. No,
I totally see that. It's funny because it's like it was selfless reasons she wanted to to save her own galaxy, and the Senate is corrupt and all of those things. But yes,
it was good.
She was good,
but
through her actions, Palpatine gained irrevocable power.
Like, she might be learning Anakin's backstory a little more. If she is Padme Reborn, she's also like knowing what it's like to live as a slave, knowing what it's like to be poor and unloved and separated from your parents.
Yeah, it's very similar to Anakin's background. She's really good with flying, and she's really good with droids, and she can communicate with droids. She speaks multiple languages. She grew up on this desert planet. It's like she's trying to experience, his background to understand him better.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like there could be multiple explanations for that. Like, she could maybe be Anakin reincarnated, people have said, but
like there's a reverse, like
I don't know, like
he's Padme and she's Anakin.
People have said, well, like because of the actually my friend sent me like a really funny joke about how Ben is Padme because of because of the SNL skit where he goes undercover, because that's what Padme did. She was like an undercover boss, and like it's like tinfoil hat stuff on the wall pointing at it. It's all true. It's all of it.
I mean, if we get the decoy maneuver, maybe. I mean, there is a lot of
I don't actually believe, or I hold with that theory, but it's to be fair to mention it.
I mean, some people do. And I personally see a lot of, especially after reading Queen's Shadow, there's a lot of parallels to Padme in Queen's Shadows to Kylo, right?
Right.
Like the mask. She refers to putting on the Queen's mask.
Yes.
To talk with people and to, be strong and hide herself, hide her true self.
Right.
But I always assumed that was like genetic ties. I mean, additionally, Padme also, from a costuming perspective, like you mentioned, like Rey's costuming seems to get more and more like Padme's.
Oh my gosh, her Rise of Skywalker outfit looks exactly like the outfit that Padme wore in Attack of the Clones when she admitted that she was in love for the first time.
Like, even with the armband.
Even with the armband that's literally covering the source of her angst. Like,
yes.
It's a beautiful white garment. It's if you compare them side by side, and I have visuals of it, it's quite stunning.
Yeah. It looks like a Jedi'd version of Padme's outfit.
Right. It's definitely a Rey outfit, but it's also like the where each cut line of like her pants and like other similar like drapings. It's very similar.
We're going for that silhouette again.
And like there are different reasons why they could be referencing Padme with her, but it's like when you're going tinfoil hat, what you start to lose it, and you're like, that's because she is Padme Reborn.
Exactly. All right. So, did you want to put in any of the clips?
I actually would. So, what's important to realize is it's not like it's easy to just say like Joseph Campbell said this is what the hero's journey does, and people kind of think of it. I don't think they think of it mythologically enough. I think they think of it like there have been books that have been released that teach how to write the hero's journey, and they don't really mention that it's really a mythological motif about someone descending into the underworld and coming back. That is what it is at its most simple state. So after listening to like 2 months of Joseph Campbell lectures, to go back to Lucas talking in the mythology of Star Wars when he talked to Bill Moyers, and to hear him like quote a lot of what Campbell said, like word for word, or like phrases that he used all the time. And I was like, yeah, man, he was so influenced by him. So we have this first quote.
Let's start with the motif of death and rebirth.
Okay.
The Han Solo journey is a continuation of the motif of death and rebirth, which is the overall central theme of this whole series in relationship to Darth Vader coming out of his evil hibernation and being reborn as Anakin Skywalker. He's put to sleep, which is a common device, especially in fairy tales, but it's also mythological terms too, of going into a state of suspended animation, and then usually you come out rejuvenated. Sometimes it's equivalent of going down to the netherworld and coming back enlightened. In this particular case, he was just put to sleep.
Whoa!
So what did you think? That was from the Return of the Jedi commentary track from like 2004 or something?
Dude.
Isn't that crazy?
We talked about it earlier on the conversation, but like...
Right.
Like to actually hear him talk about it, how it's like going to sleep is a metaphorical death, and like, whoa.
And it's also about the central motif of the central theme of Star Wars is death and rebirth in regards to Darth Vader. He said that.
Yes, he did.
Like he was talking about Han, but he was like, oh yeah, the central theme of the whole story is the death and rebirth of Darth Vader. Okay, so
where's the rebirth happen, hey? Weird.
I don't know.
All right, so this is transformation is the central issue of Star Wars.
This is from the mythology of Star Wars with Bill Moyers. It was right after they released The Phantom Menace. So this is the timeline that you have to keep in mind.
Essentially, isn't Star Wars about transformation?
Well, it is about transformation, and ultimately it will be about transformation of how young Anakin Skywalker became evil and then was redeemed by his son. But it's also about transformation of how his son came to find the call.
I'll never turn to the dark side.
Finally, he comes to that decision to say, no, this is what I have to do. I have to simply throw my weapon down. And it's only that way that he's able to redeem his father, which ultimately is the issue. It's not as apparent in the first three movies, but when you see the movies I haven't made yet, the issue of how do we get Darth Vader back is really the central issue. How do we get him back to that little boy that he was in the first movie? That good person who loved and was generous and kind and had a good heart.
How do we get him back to the little boy?
It's very interesting, isn't it?
Say what? Chelsea.
I know. Like, think about it. Think about the timeline where he said this. So he said, the movies that I haven't made yet. Which movies had he not made yet?
Well, like, this is after The Phantom Menace, so he hadn't made Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
And were Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones about Anakin
getting him back to being a little boy and reverse Anidala? No.
So what could he potentially have been thinking about when he was saying this?
I mean, he went back and forth talking about whether he actually had a plan for 789 a bunch of times.
Right.
But we now know, because of the Vanity Fair article, that George Lucas was completely consulted with the sequel trilogy.
Yep.
Huh. So weird. It doesn't mean anything at all.
When you see the movies that I haven't made yet, you'll see that the central story is about how he becomes like a little child again. Joseph Campbell, when he would always tell this story about when the goal is to become like a little child again. Like, the goal is to be like someone creatively open like a child. So like,
Like to
What did they
regain
say?
the innocence lost, especially. Yeah.
Right. So what did you think?
I have never heard that.
You haven't?
No. Like I've never heard that before. I know maybe I have watched that special, but like
It's crazy.
it didn't mean anything to me in the context by which I mean,
when you're listening to it, you could think, oh, well, they just mean him being redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's like, to me, that kind of like the obvious answer. Like,
and
but he's the old man.
Right.
In 6, right? Like at the end of 6, he is the old man. He is broken and burned and scarred, and it's too late for me.
Right. That's not a little child again.
No. So
But, like,
weird. So weird.
It could potentially be that it's like, maybe that's what he was talking about. Maybe. But like, I'm so suspicious. I think it really he had to be thinking about like continuing, because
how to complete the full Anakin Skywalker hero's journey.
Right. And
what is the rise of Skywalker?
I don't know. What is beginning to, what is this will begin to make things right?
Mm-hmm.
What is you see the same eyes in different people? What is no one's ever really gone? What are all these leading to, I wonder? So suspicious. I will pull you down into my tinfoil tiara land.
Where you reign supreme.
Right.
We'll see each other again. I believe that.
I will finish what you started.
Oh, wow. Huh. Next one?
What did Vader leave unfinished? The hero's journey. And it's important.
Well, also, like, technically, if we have a bad guy that is the ultimate evil, he also left Sidious existing in the galaxy far, far away.
That's true.
Right?
I think that's true. I think that's a lot of it. But it's also like he was never reunited with his wife. He never got to reconcile with Leia.
Yeah.
He never got to experience life with Luke. He never got to apologize to Han Solo for putting him in carbonite. He never got to do a lot of things. He
never got to live past his redemption.
Right. And I think to finish what you started, we're seeing a lot of those dynamics that were left unexplored in Return of the Jedi explored. If we take for granted that Ben Solo is the same character as Anakin Skywalker in some way, then we are seeing exploration of Anakin and Leia's relationship.
Him making choices to not destroy things she loves, although he was sort of involved with a similar destruction as what she experienced previously.
Right, because we want to have the same tension. We don't want to. Yes. We don't want him to get off like scot-free, so we have to
the tension, but it changes.
Right, we have to have the same problem that Vader had left off with. Like, it wouldn't work if he had not done the same things that Vader had done, if that makes sense. Like, he was never as bad as Vader, but we have the same like feeling. We have that same
like Vader light, like diet Vader.
Diet Vader. Oh my gosh.
the Coke Zero of Vaders.
The Coke Zero can really does look like a Sith can, doesn't it?
I mean, like the red writing on the plaque.
Yes.
Do you want to listen to any of these other clips? The meaning of virginal births. Ooh.
See, like all of these could be like, I feel like a lot of, sorry, I'm like bringing this up, but like it keeps coming up. Like, what is the meaning of Anakin's? Why was he immaculately conceived?
Yes.
Like, what does that mean mythologically? And I think it really ties into this whole, like, the fact that the idea that he is the hero for the hero's journey of all of the 9 Star Wars movies.
The Skywalker saga.
The Skywalker saga, the Anakin, it's still about Anakin. And
yeah.
And so, like, people have, like, bad analysis have, sorry, maybe I shouldn't say that, but, like, people have taken that, oh, he was born of a virgin birth, he was immaculately conceived, like he's a chosen one, that's so cheap, that gives him special powers, or that takes meaning away from, like, to be told that you're a chosen one takes meaning away from it. Campbell, and this is in The Power of Myth, so it's like in the thing that people have said that they've watched, like Star Wars people, this is he explains what exactly the virgin birth means
Let's listen to
mythologically.
it.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
This is the virgin birth. It's the birth of spiritual man out of the animal man. Do you understand?
And it happens
when you are awakened at the level of the heart to compassion and suffering with the other person.
Why is it significant that this is of a virgin?
Well, it is that the begetter is the spirit. It is a spiritual birth. The virgin conceived of the word, but through the ear.
The word came like a shaft of light.
Yes. And now the Buddha was born from his mother's side at the level of the heart chakra. That's a symbolic birth. He wasn't born from his mother's side, but symbolically he was. It's not a physical birth. It's symbolic of a spiritual transformation. That's what the virgin birth's about. And so deities are born that way, who represent beings who act in terms of compassion and not in terms of the lower three centers.
Oh, that's so interesting because there's several quotes out there saying that Anakin, in his purest sense, when he was born, was pure compassion.
Right.
And he grew up in this dead land, basically. Or he was brought there, I think, when he was very young, which is really interesting. Wilderness. Wilderness is important, too.
Yes, very important. So that basically, that's important because it's not that he was... It's just a metaphor for him being that figure, that because it just reiterates that that's what this is all about. If Joseph Campbell said to be born of a virgin, to be born immaculately, means that you are the person to learn you are the compassionate person. It just kind of reiterates that is what his story will be from the very beginning, that he will be the compassionate one that will save the universe. He will be the
savior of the universe eventually.
Right.
Oh.
He said the word compassion 2 times there. It's about being spiritually reborn through the spirit. So it's like it is at once saying that he will be compassionate to others, and also it is saying that he will be reborn to be compassionate to others. So it's already just the motif of the virgin birth is about that. So
yes.
it just reiterates that that's what he's doing. He's going to descend into the underworld, come back, be compassionate to others, and save everyone. That's what that figure does.
That's his job. Literally in his job description.
Yes, that's that's probably why Lucas incorporated those elements.
Yeah, because he was very aware of all of these, why they were important.
There's a video of Moyers saying that he actually worked on Star Wars with him.
Huh.
Like he said, they were at Skywalker Ranch working on Star Wars with George Lucas. Like he said that phrase. I will try to find you the link to it. I didn't give that to you, but so it's like, it's not that he was more influenced by him, than I think some people realize.
Like he was definitely having conversations with him regularly.
I think so. I think he definitely had conversations with him about it, especially because I found this old interview of Campbell where they asked him about Star Wars, and he was like, "Oh, I haven't seen a movie in like 20 years. I don't even know what you're talking about." And then they asked him, "Well, do you think that it could be modern mythology?" And he says, "Oh, I don't think so, because to have a myth actually do anything in society, you have to do rituals with it. It has to be something a part of your culture. So I don't think that." And he was like, "I don't think that movies can do that." I
would argue later it has become a mythopoeia.
No. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Because, and then they ask him later, a few years later, they're like, "What do you think of Star Wars?" And he's like, "Oh, it's the new myth."
It's like, wait a second. Yeah, no, he was convinced. It is completely a mythopoeia now. Like it is completely there.
And we have rituals, and we have like young children.
Force Friday. Sorry. May the 4th be with you. We have our own holiday. We have we now will have a sacred land we can go to pray to the Star Wars gods. I mean, Galaxy's Edge.
The Jedi is a religion, and is it Australia or New Zealand? I can't remember which.
Yes, no, it's completely gone in that direction, and it is influenced the culture so much, like what we spoke about earlier, which is that, you know, Darth Vader is still one of the most popular Halloween characters.
Exactly.
Fascinating. We went a little bit on a tangent there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
This is fun.
I thought it tied in a little bit, but it didn't really.
But what is the point? What was the point? And I don't even think we need to go into what people think are the reasons against this, because honestly, you can probably come up with your own and start to question it. But the more you question it, the more you find evidence for it. It's wacky that way.
The more you think about it, the more you think like ways that it can heal the wounds in Star Wars, like that.
Yeah,
that a love between Ben and Rey would heal the wound of the great tragedy of the Skywalker patriarch and matriarch. The idea that they will be able to confront their horrible,
their oppressor, the evil
incarnate, the dragon.
Dave Filoni actually calls him evil incarnate in Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah. They will confront the evil incarnate and heal the wound to the galaxy and the Skywalker line.
What I really like about this idea that it's one long story and that Ben Solo is finishing his grandfather's, and there's different levels that this could be true or not true.
Again, could be metaphorical. That they fulfill these, and just in looking like them, in acting like them, it's more metaphorical that they're fulfilling these roles for the saga. Or they could literally be reincarnated.
Exactly. Like
it could go either way. I think it will at least be metaphorical. I just don't see how it can't be at this point, with literally choosing the same boots as Anakin Skywalker and putting Kylo Ren in them. Like, that was a choice. That was a Star Wars That Rhymes choice, but they made that choice.
Could be either symbolically true or literally true.
Yeah.
And I don't mind talking about this theory so much and like speculating, because I think you're right. It's already symbolically true. It would be hard to step that back at this point. They've already referenced it. Not that they are literally reincarnations, but that they are taking on the role of healing the wounds in the story as if they were. So it's like if they go through, I mean, I feel like I'm like saying I know what's going to happen in The Rise of Skywalker, but like,
go ahead. I give you permission.
That's not literally true, or that's not something that I can actually say. But like, I feel like I have I've heard Joseph Campbell like talk about so much stuff in the past 2 months that I'm like, there's no way that it isn't to me. Like, there's something. It has to be something about this. There has to be at some level. They will. I think that they will at least heal the wounds and heal the galaxy and overthrow Palpatine. I'm not sure. I actually have no like idea of what will happen in the movie at all. But like, there are certain like steps, I think, in order to.
It's like high level plot points.
Right.
We know what's going to happen if it's going to be a satisfying conclusion to the Skywalker saga.
Right.
And in the end, they need to resolve the wounds of the past.
Right. The wound in the story is Padme. And in order to heal, give some closure to this whole family, they have to address Padme and Anakin and their great. What was it that from Revenge of the Sith? What was the thing that tore them apart that Blind Man Baldwin was saying?
Oh, I will pull him up. So to quote Matt, so you're here in spirit with us. I asked him, since we're covering this, and he has contributed so much to some of this conversation. There's been others. I'm just like, lots of people have pointed this out, but specifically I've spoken with Matt a lot about this. When I said, what's the most important thing to talk about? And he said, the most important thing is the thesis of the prequels, particularly Revenge of the Sith, and the scene where Padme says, Anakin, all I need is your love. And Anakin responds with, love won't save you, only my new powers can. So, well, we know Anakin is wrong, because unlimited power means nothing. To me, at least. All of this is answering the question, if power can't cheat death, what can? Padme has already told us it's love. And love and compassion is unconditional love.
And it's central to a Jedi's life.
And it's central to a Jedi life. And it is turning towards the light. And it is the whole idea of redemption. And it is all wound up together to make sense.
It's really beautiful. If this is the one long story, it's incredibly uplifting to like, and it's very happy, and it's very positive, and it actually makes me a little teary thinking about it. Like, that whenever I think about Padme, I get really like upset, even like, to this day. Like, there was something about that in, what year did that come out? Revenge of the Sith. I don't know, but like it really affected me, and to think that will be healed somehow by this narrative is really hopeful to me. So I'm very happy.
I think that summed it up perfectly.
Let me see. Star Wars is about a lot of things, but it's about loyalty to your friends and coming of age and like man versus machine. But it's also about one large myth being retold. That one long myth will span all the 9 movies, is about Anakin Skywalker's death and descent into the underworld, his finding and reuniting with his wife, the goddess in the underworld, and his eventual rebirth into a life of compassion.
Aww.
Lucas was telling one large myth, and other characters were part of this, but the overall story was for Anakin Skywalker and Padme.
That's so awesome.
There's this quote from JJ about Rey's hug with Leia, and Maya was like,
"Oh my goodness, that one!"
Did you read that?
Can we just bring up how weird that hug was?
I know, it was odd.
Yeah, and then JJ's response was even weirder,
right?
Because JJ admits when he's wrong. Sure, JJ said it was a mistake,
but he said that it was a mistake, but it was almost, when he was talking about it in this interview, he almost was like, it was a mistake to have him in the shot next to them to like,
yeah, the hug was meant to happen.
Distract you.
The
like,
hug was meant to happen, but like Chewie should have gotten a hug too or something. Like,
the way that he phrases this is like, is this
so
her
weird?
Is this her reuniting with her mother? Because it is actually framed really strangely, like really momentously. Yes. I feel like
it was like a mother and daughter having a hug. I think that was his wording.
So I tried to have Chewbacca go off with Finn and focus on Rey, and then to have Rey find Leia and Leia find Rey. The idea being that both of them, being strong with the Force and never having met, would know about each other. That Leia would have been told about her beyond what we saw on screen, and Rey, of course, would have learned about Leia. And that reunion would be a meeting and a reunion all in one.
Yes.
And a sort of commiseration of their mutual loss. It's like, that reunion would be a meeting and a reunion all in one, huh?
Weird
way to put that, JJ.
What was always weird about that scene for me was that it's like she already recognizes Rey.
Yeah.
Because she remembers what her mother looked like.
Oh my gosh. Don't do this to me, Marie-Claire.
Have I done it again? Yes.
My heart. Oh my gosh. If that's what it's doing, I'm like,
I mean, that would be pretty cool. Him being able to talk about, be like, you know that scene in TFA? That was on purpose. You guys all can go away.
Oh my gosh, I feel like there's so much about that in these movies that they could do that. Like people saying
just forever, like be like, you know, when you complained about this, that was on purpose.
You complained about Luke Skywalker raising his saber to Ben Solo as a child. Well, I mean, he already did that to Darth Vader, and they're the same characters. So what do you want from us? Like, it was the same darkness that he felt, so it was like instinctual. Like
he threw away the lightsaber. He turned it off just the same way. Oh my God.
Exactly. There are so many. If you follow the crumbs, you get to really cool places. And like, I'll be satisfied if this does not happen, if it's not like this, I will write the best fanfic.
But like you already said, it's already symbolically there. So like us weirdos with our tinfoil tiaras can totally dive into that and be like, it's there symbolically. That means that it could be actually there. And we'll be satisfied because, you know, we're weirdos and love mythology. But what if it's literally going to happen?
I think that it would be good.
It would plug into the epic storytelling of especially Asian cultures.
Yes.
And speak to those like things that happen in those stories.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on like how how literal they might be going with it. Like, will they say like, you are your grandfather reborn? Like, could they say that in Star Wars and have like people follow it? But I think it, like, I wouldn't mind it if they actually did go all that way, and like, because
I just want weird Star Wars, and this is like super weird Star Wars.
This is pretty weird. It is pretty weird.
I mean, there's gateways already represented in the symbology of what's going to happen in episode 9. Like the pin that looks like a gateway. Like,
what do you mean? Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
The art book cover, the pin
where she's literally pulling him out of the underworld and he's pulling her out of another underworld. Like,
yes.
What?
Yes. And that their sabers are crossed in front of a gateway on the like one the Rise of Skywalker pin that you can buy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And all 4 elements are representing nature.
Have you been getting into the Vader Immortal video game that just came out?
I need to go and watch all the videos from it. I haven't yet.
It's like continuing the Vader comic thing. Like,
oh no, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Vader comics so much.
So it's like in that same castle and you're like exploring it, and I was like
are you like a servant in there? Or are you Vader?
You are like a smuggler or something like that.
Are you gonna die?
who is kidnapped by Darth Vader. You're like teleported to him. I think that was used in like Rebels, like the same technique that like grabs you out of space or something, but like out of hyperspace. And he like was transported to Mustafar, and then he was like, they order you to land, and then you're put in this jail cell, and Vader comes in and he says, unlock this or I'll kill you. And you're given like this Jedi holocron like thing, and you are able to unlock it like a Mary Sue, because only Dae is sorry, that's like so much salt. Only Dae is killed for having like her like fantasies about being tutored by Darth Vader be true. Like, sorry. But when you're not explicitly a fangirl, it's okay to be like, yeah, I want to be Darth Vader's apprentice. So like you unlock this holocron thing. I can't really remember what it was. It was like it was like called an artifact, but it unlocks in your hand. Like it's like it uses force abilities to unlock it. And Darth Vader's like, oh, you did well. Like he praises you like a fanboy dream. And
oh God.
No, I'm just kidding. It's actually really nice. You basically find out that there's a pass to Mustafar.
You learn that in the Vader comic too. Momin talks about
right.
it.
That's right. But like this, you're actually given like a vision of what happened to cause it to become a death world. And it was because there was a woman and her husband in the ancient past who her husband died, and then she destroyed Mustafar to try to bring him back to life.
Oh boy.
I know, like, so like they're doing these, like she turned it from a green land into a land of death in order to try to get the power to save her husband's life. And you are the descendant of those characters. And it's explicitly said in the game, like Vader's like, we need the descendant to open it, and we need the descendant to carry on their. So it's like the idea of Ben carrying on Vader's.
Well, and also like the repetitive storytelling too, like trying to bring back what was lost and all of those things too.
Right, and you are a descendant of the people who did that, and you have to deal with the consequences of them doing that, just like Ben. I'm really excited to see the next game in that. I think it could be really interesting because you go down, you find out that there is a white castle underneath Darth Vader's black castle.
What?
Yeah. You go underground, like delve into the unconscious, the Jungian conscious, and you find a feminine, because this was built by a woman.
Yeah.
A feminine castle
version of the Oh my God.
So we're actually maybe exploring Vader's inner feminine.
Oh my God.
His unconscious, because it's underground.
I'm dying.
And I'm like, this could be big, because that's where they see the vision of what happened in the past, and it's very, very interesting. I think it's very well written too. It really surprised me. I did not think that it was going to be so like, oh, there's like stuff going on, just like in the Vader comic, I think. So I'm very stoked about it.
That's so awesome.
It's like what would Vader be doing in his delving into the underworld? He would be exploring the unconscious.
The
He would be
missing
exploring
feminine in his life.
the missing feminine. There's a scene where he like calls out to Padme in the game. Like,
I mean, the whole saga is actually about the missing mothers, the missing feminine, the missing women, the missing feminine in society. It's
Right.
Oh my God.
This is also interesting because it's being released this year, and so you're like, I wonder why they need to get this out before the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, what is important about this storytelling that needs to happen before the Rise of Skywalker?
I really don't think like some people are like, you're reading too much into it, but I think that they try to make it all as thematically coherent as they can.
It's all one story. Kathleen
Like-
Kennedy's words.
They had the opportunity, Lucas had the opportunity to make a Star Wars show about anything, any kind of anything he wanted to, but he was like, let's make the story about Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars.
Yes.
Darth Vader appears in Rogue One, and
There's been a lot of Vader in storytelling. And I know that he's super popular, but it's beyond that because of how mythological and symbolic in telling the stories of like redemption and his tragedy and specifically his downfall and why it's important, and being able to tell the romance between Padme and Anakin in the Clone Wars, where it actually makes you feel good about their relationship and not sad.
right. He really had this whole story in mind. I think it would have been like a weird non sequitur to do like another series before the series was done, you know? People have said, oh, they're greedy or whatever, that in like 20 years they'll have another trilogy after this one. And I'm like, if this is what they're doing, they can.
No, it's the end, actually.
There will be no 10th. That was Vader saying that.
Oh, yeah, right. No, he threatened Momin. He was like, there will be no 10th. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, wait, I got to do a James Earl Jones voice. There will be no 10th.
There will be no 10th. And people, I think people are maybe like clinging to this idea that they will maybe revisit these characters, but I'm like, it will probably just be in comics and novels and stuff. I like really don't see them making another movie about
I think they're going to go way in the past or off to the side.
And I'm really excited about it because, oh man.
I mean, I want to see how the Jedi and the Sith split. And again, I hope for a star-crossed lovers, them trying to be together and not able to be together scenario.
And that's also why I want like reincarnation theory to be where they're heading, because then potentially you could have like, oh, it's Rey and Ben again, but in the ancient past and they're still not together.
Oh my God, this AU goes on forever.
Yes. And also the idea of reincarnation actually heals a lot of wounds with other characters in Star Wars. It's like there's no like lack of hope. They continue on even if they died tragically. Like any character that you see that died in a horrible way, like everyone in Rogue One, spoilers. It's not spoilers. Everyone.
I mean, it's been out for 3 years, but sure.
Just kidding. Everyone in Rogue One has this opportunity to have another chance. Like if Star Wars is about hope, this inserts so much hope into the story.
Like second chances are actually a thing now.
Yes.
Oh, I like it.
Actual rebirth is possible for everyone in Star Wars. It is, and that was important. Yeah, that was important for him to say this is not just Anakin who can do this. This is everyone. His story is yours, but anyone can do this is a universal story.
Yes, this is the one story. I feel like that was all important to say. I really love learning about Vader Immortal because I feel like it does tie directly into the conversation. But like we've given you a good overview of Reverse Anidala.
Yes.
Honestly, there is more than what we've just mentioned.
There is. You could go into details about this for many, many hours.
And when we post this episode, I want you to post all of your super cool threads. So people can just like dig down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yes. I did reference a lot of like.
No, do get those links going and reply to the thing. And so people can be like, I listened to the episode and then I read Chelsea's tweets for 6 hours. And now I am a reverse Anidala stan.
Yes. Come with me.
I mean, at least symbolically, like you said, it is there.
It's definitely
we already see it. Whether it will literally happen, we will know in December.
But it is that kind of Star Wars twist that people are looking for. And it's not the one they're looking for. So they'll be like, ooh, well, I feel justified in looking for a weird twist, but it wasn't the one that I thought. Like, you know.
This wasn't the plot you were looking for, but maybe it's the one that we saw.
And reading like comments on Star Wars, like the main Star Wars Twitter, like I never see anybody mentioning this. So it's like I don't think anybody is looking out for this. But there's so much build up to it that people would have, if it turns out to be true, people would have a really fun time like watching the other movies and saying, oh, it all does tie together in exactly the same way that J.J. Abrams have described the movie doing.
It all makes sense. It's all 9 movies. I mean, we saw that. I was able to see the episode 9 panel, and the pre-video, which I'm sure you can see on YouTube, is fascinating.
Oh, really? Wait, were you there?
I was there, yeah.
So they had another video?
They had a video that led into it, and it started out with basically the cast. What?
Sorry, what was it? Sorry, I'm not getting exciting. Sorry.
I was just about to explain it.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So maybe I should have brought this up at the beginning, but I assumed everybody had found out about this and watched it already. But I'm sure that you're going to be able to find it. So there was a video before Stephen Colbert came on stage, right? That's where the stream starts for everybody else. But before Stephen Colbert came on stage, there was a video where it was like they were rehearsing for the scene inside of the Millennium Falcon. And it had Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill, and it had Peter Mayhew, sitting there, and they were practicing their lines. And Han, in his Han voice, he's like, we could bounce too close to a supermarket. And that's where it starts, right? So it's like this really cute, like behind the scenes. And then it goes into like, what is Star Wars and how it's important. And then we get cut to a scene of George Lucas talking about how he always viewed this as, 3-act plays. And it goes on to JJ talking about Star Wars and how it's all going to make sense and how it's all one story and it's all tying together. And Kathleen Kennedy talking about how it's all one story and how, George Lucas was absolutely consulted for the sequel trilogy. Yeah, you should totally go and watch this.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yes.
I just assumed everyone had seen it.
I had not seen that. No, I watched the stream.
The video happened before the stream.
Oh my gosh.
This was only for the people. I wasn't in the big stadium, but I was in the Twin Suns room. And so we got to see it too.
I was like, did you get any good footage of that beautiful shot of Kylo on the desert planet? But if you weren't there, then.
Well, I mean, I was like watching what they were able to watch because I was in an overflow room basically. So that's why I was able to see it. So.
Oh man, you should have had like a media.
I had, but you're not allowed to record certain panels.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that one specifically was being streamed, so you're not allowed to record stuff.
There was a lot of tangents that we went on that I don't think were necessarily really important to this. So some of these I was like, I just want her to know about it.
Thank you, Chelsea, for coming on the show and introducing the What the Force audience to Reverse Anidala if they've never heard it before. And if they had, maybe some points that maybe they hadn't thought about it. I love this idea. Again, symbolically, it's already there. Literally, maybe. We'll see. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. So where can people track you down? Just remind them, Twitter, where they can find you.
I am at North Gallus on Twitter and at Corsica.tumblr.com on Tumblr. That's where I linger.
Thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Mary Claire. This was so much fun.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music composed by Christy Carew. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We would like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love What the Force, In Wild Space, Night Huntress, and Susan. We are available wherever podcasts are found and YouTube. You can connect with us at Twitter at WT Force Show or on Facebook at What the Force. Feel free to reach out to us and start a conversation. Cheers.